crush from afar and you don't really have as much life experience to go up and talk to the person, and it's not always born of friendship. And if I give anyone advice, if anyone asks me for advice, I try not to give advice, but they're like, come on, like how do you, because my husband and I genuinely have just such a beautiful relationship, and we have a friendship first and foremost, like we are best.
It's not every day the husband gets to interview his wife's love interest in a film. It's kind of crazy.
I don't remember seeing this on the schedule.
Dive in, shall we? So I saw you posing in a photo with Mrs. Reynolds, and I'm sorry, what do you call her? Do you guys have a nickname or something? Oh, okay, no, just so it's Mrs. Okay. Anyway, I saw this photo. It was very suggestive. So I got it right here. I'm gonna get right to it. How do you explain that?
Hi, friends. It's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. Listen, over the weekend or Friday or something, Glamour magazine published this horrible article about digital content creators that they named Mommy Sleuths as being part of this hate machine that's against Blake Lively. And my content, by the way, was not listed in there, but I did notice that some of the content creators covering the story that I have actually had conversations with and have contact with on Instagram and have spoken to were referenced in this article. And I found it pretty offensive because these creators, at least that I know of, are not who this person in this Glamour article was portraying them to be. And it bothered me because it was obvious to me that the spin at Glamour magazine was that if you don't support Blake, you must be a misogynist. And Stephanie McNeil, the journalist, is someone that I am aware of and I've been aware of for years. She used to work at BuzzFeed. It was a whole thing. She doesn't work there anymore. Before that, she actually worked at Fox News, if you can believe that. And she pretends like she's this super progressive journalist that understands misogyny, but she often gets it wrong. And she pontificates through her articles and writes in first person about what she believes is the view that we should all be living under. Her article linked several TikTok videos and different people from Twitter and posts that they were making talking about their theories or just their thoughts about Blake Lively. Quite honestly, not much different than what Stephanie is doing here. And in one example, they link to a video by Melanie King. I don't know who Melanie is. I know she's on YouTube and has a pretty sizable platform, but she's reading a headline from a story from the court where Blake Lively's attorneys wanted a protective order in the event of profound mental health issues. This profound mental health quote actually comes from the March 6th oral arguments that they did to Judge Lyman. Her attorneys said, quote, one of the reasons that we used the type of language that we did without expressly identifying specific categories like we're using as exemplars today is because it's hard to predict exactly what might fall into this. But it's not difficult to envision that there would be the type of materials that are speaking about children or speaking about profound mental health issues or locations of private residences or homes. You can imagine that there is just a level of personal and intimate information that is particularly relevant because of who these people are that in an ordinary case may not be subject to an AEO, but would be in here. Their attorneys wanted this category of AEO to protect from medical records that contained information about profound mental health issues. That's from the court. No one was diagnosing Blake with that. That's what her attorneys asked the court. So Stephanie's article was all about just cherry picking, what the most salacious things were. And it's very ignorant because if you read the court records or if you listened on the court oral arguments, which I did, I had a very similar headline because it was clear that there was some mental health issues happening because it was brought up more than one time by her attorneys. Either way, what Stephanie did was write an article lumping everyone in with people that she doesn't like. So she brought up Candace Owens and House and Habit and Megyn Kelly. And listen, I'm not a fan of any three of those women. I am not a conservative by any means, and quite personally, I don't consume their content. But if other people do, fine, whatever. I wish she wouldn't have brought them up because there's plenty of other people that are talking about this that are not like these other people. But either way, she brings up these people to say that like every single person that doesn't agree with Blake is like Candace, Megan, or House and Habit. And it's all conspiracy. And she makes statements that say that we're damaging all women. Okay. She says, this is not normal. And it's about more than just Blake Lively. Since Me Too has exploded into public consciousness in 2018, an online war has succeeded in erasing many of the gains made by the movement. If those against Me Too can't stop famous women from speaking out against sexual assault, abuse, or harassment, they can apparently slowly erode their credibility until they are pariahs, the target of an unrelenting campaign of hate and misogyny, that their public image is incurably damaged. The hardest part of this to swallow is that the women, mostly civilians, are the ones falling deepest down this rabbit hole, being convinced by TikTok to turn on one of their own. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how Melanie's video, and I don't know anything about her, but I don't know how anything about her video talking about what happened in a court hearing is turning on Blake. It's honestly what Blake's lawyer said. She also talked about this video where Donna, Daily Dose of Donna, was discussing Michelle Trachtenberg, her death, and Blake making a post about Michelle. And then Donna spoke to one of Michelle's friends who basically said, like, Michelle and Blake weren't friends and she wouldn't have appreciated this. And she's saying that that's hate. So apparently, if Michelle's friend tells someone that Michelle wasn't friends with Blake, and this is actually really awful that Blake is doing this, that's somehow attacking Blake because one of Michelle's friends is standing up for her. Okay. Rest in peace, Michelle. But long story short, this article caused a lot of anger online. And you don't have to be on any side of politics here to have an opinion. And to me, I'm a liberal. I'm a registered Democrat. Some of you might hate that. I don't bring politics here. It's not what my channel is about. I have my own political views. And quite honestly, like, I think most people know that I'm a feminist, but I'm also not the kind of person that doesn't believe that women don't lie. I mean, come on. I have covered creators like Ruby Frankie who lied so much on her channel, Eight Passengers, or Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who is continuing to lie every single day that she's in the public, or Casey Anthony, who I've talked about, or the women that are from the Duggar cult and the daughters that have covered for their dad, or the hanger-ons of the Duggar family that lie, or the women from Sister Wives that until they left the cult were lying. You know, here's the thing. Women lie. Women will lie for men. Women will lie for a lot of reasons. Women are not immune to lying. And in this case, I wanted to believe her until I started seeing the evidence. And then when all of the evidence is laid out, how do you still believe her? What I think Miss Stephanie has not done is she's not staying up to date on the case, or if she is, she doesn't care. And I think article is about inflaming us, enraging us, and making us fight with her instead of fighting with Blake. And she went up on Glamour, posted a link to this, and that's where it all started, on their Instagram and then on TikTok. And people were just in the comment blowing up the Glamour post. And Stephanie made a comment like, and I'm not working for the CIA, basically saying that she's not working for Blake's side. She is, though. Here's the thing about legacy media. Glamour magazine has had covers with Blake on. I think Blake's done at least 2 or 3 covers for Glamour. They already have an existing relationship with Blake. They have an existing relationship with Ryan. And they have an existing relationship with Taylor Swift and a lot of Blake's friends that are famous. They are in the business of maintaining their relationships with celebrities so that they can create content that gives you an inside peek into the glamorous world of these women. And if they start questioning what these women do, they're going to lose access and they're going to get blacklisted. And I know full well what it's like when you stop just promoting whatever the propaganda is, or whatever the PR that the person wants you to say, like if it's a reality show or if it's a celebrity. If you say one thing that makes them upset, you'll never interview them again. So when I make videos and I talk not fondly about like Sister Wives or any other show, I know full well that a lot of these people are not going to ever speak to me because I'm not promoting the propaganda or the PR that they want for the show. They're only going to go to journalists that won't push back and won't ask questions. And so I view Glamour as one of those outlets that won't push back and won't ask questions. They just want you to take things at face value without critically thinking. And then she reduces us, she goes on this thing about how Candace calls us mommy sleuths, but then she uses mommy sleuths in her thing, in her title. She said it would be easy to dismiss the ever-growing hate campaign against Lively as a pet obsession of pulp culture aficionados, maybe a little weird, but ultimately just harmless piece of celebrity gossip, but we don't live in a vacuum. And so then she ties what we're saying about Blake to abortion rights, the President Trump, and all these like assaults on women's rights. And the two are not the same. Not believing Blake has absolutely nothing to do with abortion. It has nothing to do with my rights as women. Okay. And, but then again, that's her, that she's creating divisiveness. Okay. And then she says, this is the same world where a woman, even as a powerful actress, faces the complete destruction of her reputation by online mommy sleuths for daring to accuse a man of sexual harassment. Lively isn't the only person who this harms. Once you dehumanize one woman, you can dehumanize all of them. This is what the legacy media does a lot. They did this with Amber Heard. They said that if she loses, it's going to hurt all women. Amber Heard doesn't represent me. Lively doesn't represent me. Certainly doesn't represent you. So, long story short, this is all, her opinion in a magazine that no longer has print magazines anymore. It's just an online blog at this point. And they rely on advertisers. Her company relies on SEO and getting views to make money. So the advertisers that are putting ads on their pages, will pay them, and they need so many hits. So she is playing the game for views and clicks and likes too. So she got really upset because a lot of people were giving her backlash. And at one point, she kept trying to pit us against each other, like women should be supporting women while she wasn't supporting women. It was very weird. And she did this whole post on her Instagram, rambling and accusing all of us of making money. And she said, one final thing, the amount of insults and harassment I'm getting for this, I have people telling me I'm a bad mother. Okay? Should give anyone doing this pause. She wrote an article, okay, where she told women that were writing about or reporting on Blake that we are threatening the reproductive rights of American citizens and women, and that we are the same as President Trump, and that we're all MAGA or whatever, alt right, she was saying, okay? And then she says that she insults people and calls them mommy sleuths, reduces them to conspiratorial women that have gone down a rabbit hole and who've been brainwashed. She then makes a video on TikTok and calls us brainwashed. Okay. And I wrote a post and I said, Stephanie, you insulted women that work as content creators and called us mommy sleuths. That should give some pause. So she started this by lumping everyone together, calling them names, making it seem like we are all trying to take away people's rights, which again, I'm not a political channel. And so I wrote this point by point. And my response was, Stephanie really can't read the room. She can write an article and label women that work as content creators as mommy sleuths, then criticize these creators for being crazy or coming up with delusional theories about Blake Lively. However, when she's criticized, this should make people pause. Instead of taking time to actually report on the people involved in the story, she decided to write a hit piece about content creators while attempting to harm their businesses through the article. The focus is not on who's covering the story. This is an obvious distraction. The mainstream media cannot handle that old way of reporting news as a dying business. Content creators are a threat to their bottom line, which is true. I spent the day watching videos by actual lawyers talking about this case, lawyers that really have no stake in the matter. Not one of them believe that Lively has a case against Baldoni. None of Lively's allegations against Baldoni meet the legal standard for sexual harassment or a hostile work environment. As one lawyer said, being annoyed by your boss or thinking he's weird isn't a legal claim. Other lawyers pointed out that the jury is instructed to view a case based upon the credibility of the person bringing the claim. If the jury can find at least one instance where the individual lied, the jury is instructed to discount their entire testimony. Examples that erode her credibility that can be used in court are Lively has admitted in magazine interviews that she and her husband often lie on social media. Lively has admitted on camera that she lies to journalists because they won't fact check. She did. She said that in 2018. Lively has admitted in Forbes interviews that she obtains jobs under the pretense of being an actress. Then, once hired, she admits that she exerts her power to take over the film. She did. Lively did not gain control of the film until after she forced them to sign a document giving her more power. This makes it appear as though the SH claims are fabricated. That's what the lawyers said. Lively claims that she did not speak about DV during the press tour because she was following the marketing plan, yet she went off the marketing plan to self-promote her businesses. So these were all arguments and issues that the Ask Two lawyers brought up in how Blake Lively's defense is, how she's going to have a hard time defending herself, because these are actual issues that his lawyers can bring up. Okay. And there was no attacking Stephanie in there, right? So suddenly I noticed someone named Brian Henry in my comments, okay? And he said, "Mommy sleuth versus a bad mom. Big difference. Encouraging continued tax doesn't make you the hero in this, but congrats on the engagement. We know that's what this is about." Which is really funny because Stephanie's husband, who is this guy, works as the SEO kind of content distributor for this really big real estate guy named Ryan. He was on Million Dollar Listing, and he works for his company, and his job is making content and getting his content to go out viral so that, he can get more business. So he's in that business. But I said, "Your wife needs help." And then I responded that Brian is Stephanie's husband in true feminist form, sarcasm, and Adams. Stephanie can dish it and then relies on her husband to attack creators for her. And I never said anyone should attack her. She was the one that put out this article herself, right? And she was the one that made disparaging comments about women in there. Stephanie started this by using inflammatory language and accusing people of being alt-right and using really salacious clicks and making people think that what's being said in these clicks is really hate-driven and, all anti-Blake. And what she's not connecting whatsoever in her article is that a lot of the people that are covering this are honestly, they're reading the court records, they're looking through the evidence, they're listening in when we're allowed to. If there's a hearing for oral arguments and the judge is kind enough to give us the call-in number, I listened for 2 hours. If she was there, if she's reading the records, if she's whittling through the hundreds of pages and thousands of pages of documents, she would know the reason why most of us got here. But she's acting like everything in Blake's case is valid and there's no holes, okay? And so if there's no holes, we are all crazy for not believing her. And so she started it. And then when we respond, and when I responded, not by attacking her, but literally just calling her out. Okay, so she used Glamour magazine, by the way, a publication that's been around for, I don't know, 80 or 90 years, no longer physically, but has a digital presence. The same magazine, she got access to attend the US Open. She was also at the Super Bowl. She gets to go to concerts and do culture stuff for Glamour. She gets access to events that us common folk would never be able to attend. I've never gone to a Super Bowl. I've never been to the US Open, and I'm a tennis player. Okay. This is a woman that has access to very wealthy people, a husband that works for a very wealthy real estate agent who happened to be the real estate agent for Ryan Reynolds' friend Bradley Cooper. And Ryan Reynolds happened to be at a speaking event with her husband, Brian Henry's boss, in April in Australia. They co-headlined an event. I can't tie them directly together, but it's pretty clear Glamour has had Blake on their cover how many times? And they clearly need to maintain access with them, with Blake, or else she's going to cut them off from a lot of people. We've all seen how Blake is powerful and she love bombs. So they used a worldwide publication that's been known for 90 years to attack people that don't have the same level of esteem or power or lawyers or a corporation behind them to protect Blake, and then want the public to believe that because we don't believe, we are harming all women. And when you start telling other women that they're hurting other women, you're of course going to get backlash. And so what she did was she did what Blake does. She picked the fight and then she ran away with the tail between her legs. And now I was told today that Taylor Lorenz, I'm in her stories on Instagram, which she's insane too. There's a group of these three journalists that bother me. I'm not going to name them here, but Stephanie, Taylor, two of them. And they all hate content creators. So Stephanie, who writes this article, works at Glamour, who has had Blake on her cover multiple times. Stephanie, whose political views seem to change because she worked as a news editor for Fox News for 3.5 years. It's cute that she would then go on to criticize people that are conservative, being that she worked at a conservative outlet named Fox News for 3 years. From 2011 and 2014, Stephanie McNeil was a news editor for Fox News. Then she moved to BuzzFeed and now she's at Glamour and now she's a liberal. When somebody moves from Fox News to liberal, what that tells me is that your politics are for sale. You know what I mean? Like, I don't play politics here. I'm the same no matter what day of the week it is. I'm not going to take a job with a conservative outlet and play conservative, and I'm not going to take a job with a liberal outlet and play liberal. But what she's doing is playing liberal now. She's already played conservative, apparently. And it's projection. But what bothers me about this is that I gave her ample opportunity to respond. I left comments on her posts that were not attacking. By the way, I never called her name. I never went after her parenting. I never attacked her mothering. I never even said to her that she was a bad mom. I didn't even know she had a kid. Okay. But her husband said that apparently I'm calling her a bad mother, but she's calling me a mommy sleuth. So that's bad. But she didn't just call us mommy sleuths. She said that we were a threat to other women. She put in the notations that we're a threat to other women, that we're brainwashed, that we don't know how to make our own decisions. The tagline of her article said, "The death of Me Too and embrace of patriarchal ideals isn't coming from politics, it's coming from women online." Okay, first of all, Blake was interviewed by either Glamour or Vogue in 2014, and it was Blake that called Ryan a patriarch. And she was applauding Ryan for she believed he had the leadership and skills to be a great patriarch. I am not embracing patriarchal ideals. Not everyone listed in this article is embracing patriarchal ideals. And when she was getting called out, I left comments on her page, didn't respond. And my comments weren't abusive. I then posted to my own page, and instead of her responding, she sent her patriarch into my comments to defend her. Is this how a true feminist would handle this? If she truly was a feminist, would she send her husband into my comments to defend her and then accuse me of only doing this for clicks and views and money when he actually works in SEO, and so does Stephanie? They start the fight, they create the chaos, they throw the first insults, and then when people are outraged by what there has been said about them or their industry, which is my industry, by the way. I'm an independent journalist or an independent content creator, whatever you want to call me, a media commentarian, whatever you want me to be. When you start insulting all of us and saying that we're all the same and we're all doing these things, of course you're going to get people upset. And when you use a major publication to defend Blake, who Glamour has every incentive to defend so that they can maintain access to. And so, Mr. Brian Henry has every right to defend her too, because, his boss sells high priced real estate. And I'm sure knowing that he has access to some of Ryan's friends that he's been an agent for certainly wouldn't help him if he started, not believing the entitled wealthy woman who took over a movie and destroyed a man's career. I mean, there's no empathy for what Justin's gone through. There's no empathy for what Justin's wife is having to endure. There's no empathy for any of the female women, producers or staff that work at Wayfair that are being harmed, or the assistant directors that were fired because of Blake, or people that lost their jobs because of what Blake did. There's no empathy for them. I mean, and she had no empathy for victims of domestic violence during the press tour. She had no empathy for Dylan Farrow when she worked on Woody Allen's film and then defended Woody Allen and was really upset that people were calling him a rapist and it was really unfair because he was a good guy, but has never apologized to Dylan Farrow, his daughter, that says he molested her. She's never been someone that cared about victims unless it meant that she was the victim or she could get an award from Variety. I noticed that she did this thing for a minute where she was really into exploitation of children online through CSAM. And then she stopped talking about it. And I was like, well, that's weird. If you're so passionate about this, why isn't this your thing? Or was this just the trendy topic? It was around the same time that Ashton Kutcher was doing the stuff with the company that was tracking content online and helping, get people arrested. And now he doesn't do that anymore because he defended Janny Masterson. But she's never cared about victims. And really, people that don't believe her, a lot of them are victims. I wonder if instead of them saying that they're alt-right, I wonder if they asked each one of these creators if they had personal experience with sexual assault or sexual harassment. And if they asked them, are you a victim? I wonder what the answer would be, because I'm a victim. I'm a victim of sexual assault, domestic violence. I had a partner that sexually assaulted me and was violent with me. And then also there was an event in 2007 where I was assaulted by a friend. I know what it's like to not be believed. I know what it's like to go through a police investigation and have them say that there's no case. I know what it's like to not be believed. But Blake Lively's allegations are nothing like mine. And I'm not going to trauma dump here. But what she's accusing him of doing is so petty. It doesn't even exist. And then people in my comments will say, you don't understand sexual harassment then. I'm like, no, I do. And what she's describing is not sexual harassment either, especially with the way that she talks and engages with people. She can dish it, but if she does the banter back and forth, but then she doesn't, she can objectify Brandon's butt, but then, nobody can say anything to her. That's not how the real world works. So Blake has dragons. And Stephanie laughs and says she's not, but she is. And so Blake basically indirectly sicked one of her dragon's husbands on me because her patriarch needed to put me in my place and remind me that I'm insignificant and less than them. But yet they still knew enough about who I was to talk about me. So when Stephanie laughs and says that we are delusional to think that they're paying attention to our social media, why are we delusional? We're reading the court records and they're citing people's stuff in their court records. They're posting people's comments on social media and they're linking to Twitter and to YouTube videos. They're watching our stuff. They are. That's not delusion. That's fact. Stephanie, Brian, read the court records. Blake Lively's dragons are more than just Blake and Taylor. It's also the powerful legacy media in the fashion industry that she has working for her to keep giving her so that she will continue to give them access to her and her husband. And that means more to them than the truth. And that's just my thoughts. So what are your thoughts? Did you see this all take place online? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed and click the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.